Welcome back to Double Fries No Slaw. We're talking about Marqueston Douglas today, coming back to FSU after transferring a couple of years ago, coming back in the winter portal window, and then just a few days ago saying that he was going to go back in the portal. He has decided to not do that. Now, I don't really care about this from a what you're getting standpoint. That's not really the angle of the video. The angle of the video is more so the scene from The Office where Michael is talking about his vasectomy. Snip, snap, snip, snap. We certainly have gone back and forth with what we're doing with Douglas on the roster. If you want to all-in-one film breakdown on what Florida State is getting, I'm sure the guys over at X's and Noles did a good job with that. I don't really care about that angle. I care about the angle that we talked about on Sunday, the angle that so many of you guys agreed with and said, yes, when a player leaves, you should stop letting them back on your roster. It has not worked out well for Florida State, whether it be Marqueston Douglas, whether it be Omarion Cooper, Duke Cooper, whether it be DJ Lundy, whatever the situation is. We all know about the Peyton and Farmer stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. All of you guys agreed on Sunday. There was really a lot of times when we have a take that's not purely positive, there'll be a lot of negative feedback. Oh, you're just a hater, or oh, you just want Mike to fail, or oh, this, that. No, none of that's true. Just have a take and try and get it off, right? I was surprised at how unified people were on this subject and on this topic. And they basically said, like, look, we don't wish Biscuit anything wrong. We don't wish Marqueston Douglas anything wrong. But yeah, like if you're going to jump in the portal, that's good. We should probably stop taking people back. It was a message that in a very fractured fan base seemed to unify everybody. I talked about this Sunday too. I didn't love the take the first time around. I didn't think it made a lot of sense for FSU. I thought their tight end room was fine. Now you move Amari over to defensive end. Maybe you have a spot for Biscuit. That's fine. But I didn't think this was a must-have. I really like Randy Pittman. I really think Landon Thomas can be really good for you. And then you have the true freshman in Chase Lofton. I thought your tight end room was fine, but whatever. I didn't love the take. Seemed like it didn't really work out. Douglas gets in shape, and then just a couple of days ago says he's hopping in the portal. And this should have been the light bulb moment for the staff. The Lundy moment, the Cooper moment, the Pat Payton moment, the Farmer moment from times past, the concerns you had around Daryl Jackson at certain times. This should have been the light bulb moment for the staff. But for some reason, it wasn't. And yesterday, we get news that he's back on the roster and says that he's not hopping in the portal. Now, how does that happen logistically? Well, there's a delay between when you file the paperwork with your school and when you actually show up in the portal. There's especially a delay when there's a weekend attached to that. So if he files his paperwork on Friday or says he's doing it on Saturday, he's not going to show up until Tuesday or Wednesday of the next week anyway. But he starts setting up visits. He starts talking with people. We understand that delay. I understand that he was working on setting up a visit to potentially UNC. And I've been told that he wanted more money to return to FSU. And I've also been told that FSU obliged to those demands. To what degree they paid him? Did they meet his demands? Did they meet in the middle? Did they just give him a little bit more? I don't know. But at that point, he hops out of the portal or changes his mind about it, cancels his plans to visit anywhere else, and lets everybody know that he is going to be in Garnet and Gold. Now, I'll say this before we dive deep into it. I hope that he goes off this year and has 10 touchdowns, 1,000 yards, and commits no false starts, no holding penalty. I hope he has the year of his career. I hope he gets Heisman consideration as a tight end. Why? Because I want FSU to win games, right? That's really what it is at the end of the day to me. Do I expect any of those things to happen? Not really. You're talking about a guy that's got 4 touchdowns in 4 years. I don't think that this is some kind of a can't-miss prospect. We'll talk more about that later. So this is nothing against Douglas. It's more so against the precedent that Florida State has set and continue to set. Let's be very honest. Let's call a spade a spade. I want FSU to go 12-0 this year. I have upped my booster membership this year. And I don't say that to flex. I don't say that to brag. I'm not telling you what that dollar amount is. But every year that I've been able, I've upped my booster membership. Why? Because I want to win games. But we can also be honest when we see something that's just not right. And I think this continues to set a bad precedent. And Florida State, for some reason, under this staff, cannot get out from this. And In the strangest turn of events, and we'll see what these comments look like here in a couple hours, in the strangest turn of events on social media, everybody's pretty unified on this. Sure, you have a couple of people here or there that disagree or say that this is good that he's coming back or whatever. That's fine. Everybody can have their takes. I have no problem if you disagree with this video. But 90% of fans seem to agree that this is not a great move for Florida State. Has nothing to do with the player, has everything to do with the precedent. It goes against what Norvell literally said in his press conference last year to end the 2024 season. I'll play you his own words, but first I will give a little bit of love to our friends over at Emerald Medical. If you're feeling tired, sluggish, or just not yourself, it could be low testosterone. With my friends over at Emerald Medical, they are there to help you reclaim your energy and vitality with testosterone replacement therapy. With code DFNS that you can enter right on their website, you'll not only save money on your first month, you'll get a free consultation to start your journey. They are proud FSU fans just like you. Their owner, Chris, connects with Seminole listeners just like you, offering personalized care that you can trust. You can call them at the number below, or you can visit emerald-medical.com today to get your free consultation and get you back to feeling like the real you. All right, roll that Norvell clip.
We've had guys that have left here before, and a lot of them thought they were going to go to some great situation and some much better place. And you know what? I usually get a call back a year later seeing if they can come back. Right? And, there's all different circumstances in college football nowadays. And you know what? They can, it's going to be out there. But, if they're quick to leave, then they're probably not going to be the difference maker that we need, right, to be able to get through all that where we are right now. Right? And do I talk to them? Yes, but I don't sit there and say, "Oh, are you going to come back? Are you please? Or please don't leave." That's not that's not going to be it.
Listen, I like Mike personally, and people will comment on this and say, "Oh, you just are a Mike hater and you just want him." No, I like Mike personally. I like a lot of what he stands for. I like that he's a man of faith. I like that he does work incredibly hard. Do I think some of his efforts should be placed other places? Absolutely. But that clip bugs the heck out of me because what he's talking about in that game after we got our heads beat in against Florida and finished a 2-10 campaign, he's talking about not worrying about if guys want to transfer out, not trying to get guys to stay or begging them to stay, or he didn't mention offering them more money, but certainly that's part of the negotiation of trying to get a guy to stay. He's talking about guys that leave and go elsewhere because they think it's a better situation, and then what happens? They end up calling him back to come back. That happened with Douglas. He talked about guys that if they're quick to leave, if they're quick to jump in the portal, which Douglas put his name in the portal, filed the paperwork the last day the portal was open, maybe they're not the fit that's going to help our team anyway. And allowing Douglas to come back, and again, this is not a shot at Douglas, but allowing Douglas to come back absolutely calls BS on everything he just said in that clip. So I don't know if things have changed from November to April. What are we, April 30th here, the last day of the month? I don't know if things have changed in Norvell's mind, but it seems like a direct contradiction to me. Here's what bugs me. We had the Farmer and Peyton crap. We were always worried about what linebacker or defensive end or safety or whomever was using us for more money. And it seemed like in November, Mike was taking a stance. Hey, we're not doing that anymore. And I think we even applauded that, right? I have to go back and listen to a lot of episodes to try and find the clip if I really cared that much. But I think we even applauded that. Like, hey, yeah, you got raked over the coals publicly by some of your stars last year at the end of 2023. Don't ever let that happen again. I'd rather go 2-10 every year than get publicly embarrassed by guys demanding more money, jumping in the portal, and then you accept it. You saying, sure, that's great. And so Mike seemed like he took a stance then, and now the stance doesn't make sense at all. Want to know what else bugs me? The standard that was just set in college football. Tennessee just told their star quarterback to kick rocks. You want more money? You want to do this publicly? You want to miss practice? You want to put your name up? Whatever. Get out of here. We're done. We don't care. Their star quarterback, a true difference maker. Then you might say, oh, Nico hadn't lived up to hype yet. Or I'll tell you what, he dropped their Vegas win total by 2 wins. They're looking at like 6 or 7 wins instead of 8 or 9 now. So Tennessee just told their star, their most recognizable best player, their guy with the highest draft potential, just told him, see ya, we don't care. We'll take a guy from App State. Joey went to UCLA first, but we'll take a guy from App State over that. And Florida State doesn't even have the backbone to do that with their third string tight end, a guy with 4 career touchdown passes. 2 of those touchdown passes coming on trick plays where you lined him up as an offensive lineman. This wasn't some can't miss prospect this difference maker that's going to elevate your team to a new level. And if FSU paid a kid more money to jump out of the portal again, the worst possible precedent has not only been set, but it's been upheld. And there are some that'll say this is just like asking for a raise. It's your job when you get another offer. Well, here's a story for you. Here's a quick anecdote. Before I started screaming into a microphone for a living, I worked as a recruiter at several different companies. And the number one rule at many of those companies was to never make a counteroffer to retain talent. Why is that? Well, number one, you were usually going to pay above market to retain that individual, right? They get an offer from another job. You could hire somebody to do the same job as them for market value. But if you have to pay above what another company is paying, you're paying above market value. It's just not a good deal for you. Sound familiar? Number two, the more important reason, if their only loyalty to our company came down to the money-driven question, you gotta have to kind of ask, what kind of performance are you going to get from them? As well as how long are they going to end up being on your roster or staff or company's inventory, HR, whatever, payroll anyway? Sound applicable? You know what I think I just described? The Pat Payton situation. It seems to fit him pretty perfectly to a T, no? And I'm not saying that's going to be the situation with Douglas, but it's the same precedent. Now, at the end of the day, we can try and give all the benefit of the doubt that we want. Maybe the amount that we paid was market value. Maybe Biscuit wasn't making much at all before, and now because he's going to be a contributor, maybe we're just paying him fairly. I don't know. You can try and give as much benefit of the doubt as you want with this. And let's all assume the very best. Based on the source that I spoke with, that's probably a stretch, but let's assume the best. Let's assume the very best. Let's say Douglas took his name out of the portal out of the goodness of his heart. Maybe it was the true Seminole spirit that he just couldn't walk away from. Maybe FSU didn't increase his pay that much. I hope all of that to be true. I doubt it, but I hope it to be true. However, even if it is, I still hate the precedent it sets because perception is reality at the end of the day. And what this staff just told 100 other guys on the roster is that you can leverage us with the portal. Now, the portal's closed now, so it won't hurt anything, but wait till December. What it told them was you can threaten, you can make an announcement, Hayes Fawcett can create a graphic, you can enter the portal, and we'll take you right back. I hate that for FSU. I hate that for all of college football. That's the end of my rant. What are your thoughts? Again, I hope Marquise Douglas balls out this year. I hope he kills it. I hope he crushes it. I hope I have to eat crow and he is the best player we've ever had at Florida State. I don't expect that. I'm not anticipating that. But I still, even if he does all that, I don't love what message this sends. Would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Remember our friends over at Emerald Medical, and we will talk to you soon here on Double Fries, No Slaw.